Hello everyone.
Hi.
I'm here today with the dude, man. I mentioned Chris Gladwell in a video the other day as my yoga teacher. And this is the very one and the same. And we thought we'd have a little chat. That's all right, thank you. We thought we'd have a little chinwag about meditation today. Perhaps touch on some things for people that may be starting a practice. So,
the first one I should say really is meditation is a really bad word.
Okay.
All right, just because there are so many different practices from India and Asia and around the world, which are called different names, and you get different names like dharana, which means basically means focusing your mind through the sense fields.
Sure.
Yeah? And you get stuff like absorption, and you get stuff like reflection, vichara. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of different names of different practices, and the only problem is in England or the West, what we've done is we've put all that kind of stuff under one generic label, meditation.
Okay, it's like someone saying drugs are bad, okay?
That kind of thing, yeah.
We put everything under drugs,
Yeah.
coffee and crack.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Mm.
So, what we thought we'd do is maybe talk about some tips for helping people maybe starting a meditation practice. So, if you're very new to it and you might be having trouble, I am using the word meditation here, but maybe reflection.
Let's use that word.
Yeah.
Let's use that because everybody uses it.
So, if you're starting a meditation practice and you're finding it really fucking challenging or difficult, I swear a lot.
Yeah, good.
So
I should fucking think so.
See,
Listen,
even yogis swear.
Look at the state. Look at the state of this planet. I mean, come on. If you don't get angry and get fucked off sometimes, what would you be doing? Come on.
Exactly. See, I told you, Mum. It's perfectly allowed. Tips for people beginning meditation practices: stop swearing.
First of all, be calm.
Yeah,
Stay calm. Get passive.
Really serious. Really serious. Okay. So, say for example, we were just having a little chat a minute ago about understanding the difference between your thoughts and being the witness of your thoughts. So this might not have even occurred to you before if you haven't necessarily delved into sort of non-dualism and reflective practices like meditation. So maybe you could touch on what that means and what that is.
Bill was asking me about tips for people to help people deepen in meditation, also to begin meditation. And I think both of those, they're skill sets. Basically, it's skill sets. Yeah. And what you're cultivating is internal skill sets of paying attention in different ways. Yeah. So getting a handle on what your internal architecture or your internal landscape is like is really, really important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at the beginning, we will be the feelings, we will be the thoughts that occur. Yeah. There's this identification with any energy that rises in our system, and we sort of like the energy rises and we act it out. Yeah. There's this sort of reactive flow of stuff that occurs.
Could you give an example?
Well, you could think a thought about something and you just follow that thought, or you'll have a thought and a counter thought and you'll balance it out and do whatever the pattern in
you. Brain chatter.
It's brain chatter, which can be confusing, or you'll work out what to do based on that brain chatter and not have. And one of the things we're talking about is having a relationship with the representational processes. Mm-hmm. I think that's so there's. Where should we begin? Should we begin with beginning meditation?
Yeah, let's start with beginners, because I think that's where most people might be watching this. I think most people might be watching this are probably, perhaps sort of starting on a meditation practice, and you might need some direction and some ideas about what to look out for or what might arise when they do it.
Yeah. The first thing to do is to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. I mean, dead simple, be physically comfortable. Because if you're sitting in pain, you're not meditating.
Yeah.
There's no meditation. There's no meditation going to happen because it's just discomfort. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be, you can actually lie down to do it, in fact, but that's quite an advanced practice. And the reason it's an advanced practice is you tend to fall asleep.
Sure.
Yeah. So the plan is not to sleep.
It's going too deep.
Yeah. The plan is not to sleep. So sitting up is useful, but you can. I mean, if I'm sitting cross-legged here. That's if your hips are tight, If your bits of your body are quite tight, you'll find that difficult. So you can sit on something like Bill's doing, or you can sit on a chair even. It doesn't really matter. But you've got to be your spine has to be reasonably upright, and your diaphragm has to be free, so you can breathe and relax into your body. And half the battle of cultivating the skill sets of meditation is simply to get comfortable in your body.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the beginning. So I recommend somatic practices, body-based practices of Tai Chi, martial arts, yoga, intelligent stuff, because there's some really stupid yoga out there that will destroy your joints, by the way. Yeah.
And we're not talking about those kind of joints.
No, not good. So anyway, but that's so getting comfortable in your body is half the thing. Yeah.
Sure.
And the next level of practice really is cultivating witness consciousness.
Okay. And this is where it starts to get interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So witness consciousness.
Witness consciousness is where you're focusing your mind. You have to practice focusing your mind on one thing exclusively for cultivating it towards extended periods of time. I'll pull back on that a little bit because there are two approaches to practice here. One is to sit with everything that's happening,
and just allow the thoughts to come in wherever they go.
Just allow everything to be. This is the sort of mindfulness type approach. It's just to sit and allow everything to be as it is. Observe. And then you notice yourself being distracted by those patterns.
Yeah.
Whoever your self is there. You notice there's a self that's being distracted by those patterns.
Yeah.
So we start to introduce two things. There's a sense of self, and there's the thoughts, feelings, patterns, things that occur.
Yeah.
All right? But that sense of self that is watching that thing in that moment then is witness consciousness.
Exactly. So maybe I might simplify that a bit. You've got a shitload of thoughts popping up into your head that you have absolutely no control over. Can you predict your next thought? Probably not. So these thoughts are coming in regardless of what you're doing. Now, the identification with those thoughts is maybe what you class as yourself at the moment. But actually, if you take a moment, what happens between thoughts? You've got one thought and there's a gap between them. You're still there, aren't you? Because how do you know that there's a gap between the thoughts? Because you're witnessing that gap. And you're witnessing the thoughts themselves. So what you really are is not the train of thoughts. What you really are is the witness of those thoughts. So that was just an expansion on what Chris was saying.
Yeah.
So this is where should we go now?
This question of identity is a really big one. I mean, it's a really big one because
It's it.
That's it. That's what it's about. Yeah, that's exactly what it's about.
Good question.
Yeah. I mean, the whole jnana yoga trip, the whole trip in yoga really is who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you really?
And that can be a really useful thing to do while meditating.
Yeah.
Keep asking yourself, who am I?
Or who's meditating?
Or who's meditating? Exactly. And then you'll be answered with a thought. But then you'll be watching that thought. And then you'll think, fuck, that's a bit paradoxical.
Yeah. But there's a the strategy of sitting with the stuff that's happening, the thoughts, the feelings, the body sensations, and just being with them is a classic yoga path. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very good one.
Okay.
And another one that facilitates that, again, it's not the end of the journey by any manner of means, but I find it incredibly helpful, and it creates a certain a certain skill in terms of being able to focus very, very effectively, and that's a good thing to do. I think it's a power tool, if you like.
Sure.
Is to concentrate, practice concentration.
Yeah.
But concentration, when you look at it, it is simply focusing on one thing to the exclusion of others. It's choosing what to focus on and choosing to stay with that focus.
Sure.
Yeah.
And can you touch on how that's going to actually physiologically affect the brain, the nervous system?
It's very important. If you've got stuff going on in your system, say for example OCD, that's a good one to use, or anxiety, or any condition which causes complications and lack of function in your life. So it messes with your life basically.
Yeah.
Cultivating skill sets where you can choose to focus on something else is really helpful.
Sure.
Yeah. Because what that does is take you out of the pattern. What happens in our brain basically is we get into neurological patterns. There are synapses are the junctions between neurons, which are the information channels in the brain. Yeah. Supported by the glia and the rest of the stuff. But when you get those particular grooves, those particular patterns firing off, and they will do, with certain association, with certain triggers, we'll get a pattern of neural activity that occurs. Yeah. When you look at brain traffic, in the fast fibers of the brain, they're traveling about 250 miles an hour. which if you look at that distance, is pretty damn fast.
It's fucking quick.
It's, yeah, you know. And so when you're working with meditative practice, you're aiming to interrupt that flow.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're disrupting your ingrained habitual triggers and patterns, so that you don't necessarily. So maybe the meditative practice might give you a bit of space to think, so that you don't necessarily automatically go down that negative path that you may well have gone down many, many times before. The meditation and the focus practice might help to allow you to create a new groove, a different pathway in the brain, a different neural firing pattern.
Yeah. I mean, meditation and yoga really is self-applied neuroplasticity.
There you go.
I'll say it again, meditation and yoga really is self-applied neuroplasticity.
Now that is the nugget.
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're taking responsibility for your own neural architecture, yeah, and you are choosing to work it differently. You're saying, I don't like the design of that. It's come from conditioning, it's come from outside. I've installed it at some point in time, consciously or unconscious. Maybe I was 5, maybe I was 11, maybe I was 49. Doesn't really matter. But that's what's happened, and that's become who I think I am. Yeah? And what I'm choosing now is not to be that, because that doesn't serve me and it doesn't work, either for myself or the greater good of all. Therefore, I'm choosing something much more functional and useful, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah? And then comes the rub, who's doing that? So we come back to the same question, because you have to know who's doing it. Because if you're doing it from the illusion of being a separate self thing, yeah, that whole project is doomed to failure, long term.
Sure.
Because we have to resolve that illusion of being a separate thing in the cosmos.
Exactly.
Right? So we can just briefly come back just for a minute, because the meditative practices in yoga are framed within a context of understanding that everything's inseparable. So if you begin your practice understanding that everything is connected.
Non-dual.
Non-dual.
If you want to Google that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that almost has to be the very beginning of your practice. The beginning of the practice is the end of the practice.
Full circle.
Yeah. So you begin from that place of recognition of inseparability. And you've got that, and you know that already, really, because you breathe in and you breathe out.
There you go. Yeah.
This is the wind, this is the air.
Exactly. Those trees out there are as much a part of your lungs as your lungs are.
Yeah, this is true. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying, look, all the heat in your body, every single the heat in your body comes from the breaking of carbon-hydrogen bonds in the mitochondria in the cells of the body.
Sure.
Yeah. And that carbon-hydrogen bond comes from a sugar, which came from your food stuff.
Which came from up there.
That's right. That food stuff came originally through plants. Even if you eat animals, doesn't matter. It came through plants originally. But that came from the sunlight and the earth and the water. So this heat you feel in your body, and all the flesh, everything
It's
here,
sunlight.
is sunlight. And air.
How fucking inseparable are you?
This is it.
Exactly.
So you cognitively, you've got that now. Fantastic. We've got a cognitive map of that. But then, so if you begin with that cognitive map, and then what you're going to do is you're going to embody that.
Sure.
Yeah. And then just put another cognitive map in place, just very briefly, okay?
Yeah. Far away.
4,500 billion years ago, this universe kicked off with possibly with a great big bang. Yeah. Accelerated process. Spiral galaxies, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great magic. Here we are.
Yeah.
Sitting on the face of planet Earth having this conversation.
Fucking weird.
Yeah. And this that is here was there before the Big Bang too.
Exactly, of course.
Yeah. So beyond time and space, we're also inseparable. So we've got two levels of inseparability we're looking at. We're looking at the systemic level of inseparability, which is, earth, water, fire, air, this all flow of everything. And we're also that which is beyond time and space at the same time. Non-dual.
Non-dual.
But that's fucking mind-blowing when you get there.
No, yeah.
Right.
Really hard to talk about.
Well, language doesn't do it. Language nobody kicks out in that
Which is why you need to meditate.
Yeah.
And do yoga.
Yeah. But coming back to that, we begin with that recognition on any level, because it's important to begin there. Otherwise we get caught up in this ego story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The one that is meditating, the I that is meditating, the I that is being really good at doing yoga, the I that is... And that becomes a dead end, which has to dissolve at some stage.
Which can be painful.
It can be painful if you've done a whole lot of work at building that up and making it really nice and shiny and pretty. Oh, lovely me, aren't I special? Aren't I lovely? You get into that whole sort of shiny ego story, the spiritual ego, and it becomes a disaster at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to preface that at the beginning with that recognition and a little humility to begin with, recognise that actually everything's joined up. It's okay, it's really beautiful. So that's a really good beginning. And then you can get on with cultivating the witness consciousness, because when you cultivate the witness consciousness, you're going to hit into power. You're going to become very powerful. Yeah? You can start to do stuff like focus your mind on things and make them happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a process that is, you focus on one thing, you change your neural architecture, so those distracting patterns of story or meanings or past ghosts from the past that come up to haunt you, those kind of things no longer trouble you. They're just circumferential flurries of neural activity that no longer are connected to the deeper sense of who you are.
Now that, I think, is a very eloquent way to finish this, because obviously we've got a time limit on the videos.
Can we do some more of these?
We're going to do loads more of these, by the way, and they're going to be going up on the YouTube channel. Chris has very kindly agreed to be the face of yoga for my YouTube channel. We're going to be the bad boy yogis. Anyway, that was this for today. I hope it was enlightening and interesting for you.
And
thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you.
Excellent.